Johnny Ward, how goes it?
How are you, Adrian? How are you keeping?
How's the body?
Very tired, actually. Yeah, I made the mistake of getting one of those very early flights over on Monday, and I've been catching up all week, and I'm actually going backwards, I think, in terms of fatigue. But it's a long day. You start early, you finish late, and that's not talking about any socialising. It's manic. But it's been really enjoyable, and the Irish have had a great time with it so far.
Yeah, so 6 from 7 yesterday is the story before we look ahead to today, and the Pressbury Cup is wrapped up. I'm never quite sure where we sit in the Pressbury Cup. Johnny, is this a thing that exists as something tangible or real for the people, the proper aficionados who are over at the course?
I mean, the Pressbury Cup itself is a bit of a fad, but the actual comparison between what the Irish and the British are doing isn't, and if you look at the Guardian article that Chris Cook wrote today, he spoke about British racing being in something of a crisis. I mean,
in the shit, I think was the expression that he used.
Yeah, that was actually borrowed from me, would you believe? That was a tweet I put out. Right. He's a great lad, Chris. He's actually a son of Robin Cook, the former MP, which may not be that well known. But he's a great fella, and he called it as it is, because 2 years in a row now, Britain, I mean, they may have a great day today, but Britain has posted very, very poor results at Cheltenham. And, when you have a situation yesterday where Willie Mullins has more winners than the British put together, and so does Gordon Elliott, you're like, well, what's going on here? It's down to prize money, I think, in the main. But it's very worrying for jumps racing in Britain at the moment. It's definitely in a bit of a lull, and 2 years in a row, they've gotten a battering, really.
Yeah, he's calling for an inquest into British racing. I mean, what's the state of play here? Why has it been so poor? Like, it's even from an Irish point of view, it's hard to know. Are we beating? Is it just that our horses are so much better and our trainers are so much better? Are we beating what's also a golden era of British racing, or is it just a really poor era now? And why is that?
I mean, it's not like the trainers have gone away. Philip Hobbs, David Pipe, Paul Nicholls, Nicky Henderson, they're all still there, but I think those 4 trainers have had one winner between them so far, which is just incredible. Now, I know Gordon and Willie are extremely talented, and principally Gigginstown are keeping all their horses in Ireland. There was a sale on after racing yesterday, and all the top horses went to Ireland. And it's down to prize money. I mean, Penhill won yesterday. He's owned by Tony Bloom, who runs Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club. He's training them in Carlow. You've Graham Wiley, who's a Geordie with horses in Ireland. Rich Ritchie's an American banker based in England. He's his horse in Ireland. And it's just, I think it's actually going to get stronger rather than weaker, because people are going to, the people with money are going to flock to maybe Gordon Elliott and Willie Mullins. And, Paul Nicholls, who would have traditionally been one of the dominant forces at this festival, has been an absolute irrelevance, and it's not particularly attractive, I think, in Britain to have a horse and train over jumps at the moment with prize money, and very, very interesting.
To do with the handicapping, Johnny, as well? I'd read one of the pieces, I don't know if it was that piece, suggesting it might have been to do with the handicapping system in the UK.
Yeah, I don't really agree with that, to be honest. I think it's more a prize money situation, and just the fact that Gordon has so much firepower now for Michael O'Leary. Michael O'Leary keeps every single horse he buys in Ireland. He doesn't really care how much he spends on it. These horses that traditionally would have been bought from point to points to go to Britain are now staying in Ireland. And I don't think it's particularly what the planning of the races or the scheduling of races in Britain is the problem. It's just that, like, you could buy a horse for 300 grand in Britain. He's costing the guts of 2 grand a month to keep in training. And then he runs in a bumper and the prize money is like 1,700 quid. I mean, that wouldn't even pay the training fees for that month. So prize money is not good in Britain. Now, Ireland's been propped up by government funding, but I think longer term we're okay. But it's not sustainable at the moment to have a horse and train in Britain, and that's why a lot of people are flocking to Ireland.
So let's look ahead to the racing today, Johnny. Nicky Henderson and the possibility to complete this unprecedented treble.
Yeah, I mean, My Bite is going to be well fancied in the Gold Cup. I'm not sure the ground is ideal for him. They did have a bit of rain overnight. He's a bit of a head the ball of a horse. He ran off the track last year, and obviously if he repeats those wayward antics, he's not going to win today. But he's a horse with a load of ability. Funnily enough, his stallion Scorpion he trained with Aidan O'Brien, and when he went to stud, he was very well touted, but he's been disappointing. A lot of his horses have quirks, and so does he. But Scorpion could have 3 favourites today at Cheltenham, and Might Bite, ability-wise, he's definitely up there. I'm just not sure everything's in his favour today, and I wasn't that impressed with him in the King George.
In terms
so
of the going, is it?
Yeah, the going will be a worry. He's probably better on nice ground, and the ground is still soft, maybe a bit of heavy. It wasn't as bad maybe as people thought yesterday, but it wouldn't be ideal for Mike Boyton. In the Gold Cup, you need things to go your way. He's obviously been off since the King George at Kempton. If he runs his race, he's a big chance. But I think our Duke could beat him. Our Duke for Jessica Harrington, she won the race last year, obviously with Size and John, and the favourite for the Gold Cup next year, as we speak, is Presenting Percy, who won the RSA earlier in the week. Before that, he ran against our Duke at Gorn. He got £7 off him, and he was beaten a length. So that form looks very, very solid. If he can avoid mistakes, he's a big chance.
Yeah. Might Bite, just the last word on Might Bite, a little bit of the LeBakes about it from what I've been reading. Is that, am I exaggerating that a small bit?
Well, they're both very talented, and they're both mentally a bit different from the norm. In fairness to LeBake just wouldn't jump off much at the time. You know, he just completely recalcitrant, whereas Might Bite actually is quite genuine, but he's just he's run twice at Cheltenham. He's veered badly off the track coming up the hill. Now, you saw Davy Russell yesterday riding the Storyteller. The Storyteller wouldn't be deemed a wayward horse, but he veered quite badly up the near side as well. So I think there's a fair potential for Might Bite, especially he's going to be under pressure coming to the last. And I'd advise everyone to watch the Gold Cup, because if he's in contention, you wouldn't know what would happen. It might be a defeat from the jaws of victory sort of stuff. But he's quirky, but he does jump great, and he has a big chance. Yeah,
and like, it's been an unbelievable week again for Willie Mullins, and he was surprised himself to hear yesterday that he'd overtaken Nicky Henderson as the, I guess, the greatest trainer at Cheltenham of all time, certainly the most winning, as it turns out, and has a chance here with Kiltulla Vic. Ruby saying that maybe the jumping is an issue here from one of the things I read this morning.
Yeah, definitely. Well, he ran over hurdles 2 runs back. He jumped terrible and won. Then he ran over fences at Leopardstown. Probably would have won and fell at the last. And Kiltulla Vic was actually the horse 2 years ago, I think, where Ruby performed an absolute miracle to stay on after the last. And he went from first to third, and then got up and won again without his irons. And Ruby was actually at the races yesterday, having all but broken his leg the day before. Unbelievable. I think he has a chance. He's a squeak, but I couldn't have him with his jumping. You know, Total Recall in the race from Willie Mullins as well. He's much more solid. Like, I'm not saying he'll win, but if you're to get 4 places, I think he'll give you a good run for your money. He's unbeaten since he joined Willie. And Catherine Murphy, one of his owners, sadly passed away after a very short battle with cancer earlier in the year. So it'll be a hugely emotional day for that syndicate, which also includes her brother Lar Byrne, who would have owned Hardy Eustace. So lots of stuff to talk about in the Gold Cup, notwithstanding even the horses themselves. So
you've touched on a few, but we haven't got your what's your tip?
I'm giving our Duke, you know, on a week when the Brits have kind of been bashed about the place, a horse that evokes tales of nobility and all that, would be an appropriate winner. I feel he's very, very solid as long as he can avoid mistakes, and I've fancied him since he won the Irish National last year. Backed him then, and hopefully can get a reward. And yeah, it'd be pretty solid on his chance.
Just to go through a couple of the other ones, Johnny, if you don't mind. The racing is underway at half-1, the Triumph Hurdle. Mr. Adjudicator here was one of the watch-outs that I had another Willie Mullins horse. What are you thinking?
I don't fancy him, to be honest. Willie has 2 others in the race. Salday, who's my long-term fancy for the race, he's 12-1. I'm fairly sweet on him. A lot of talk about Stormy Ireland, the filly in the race, who Ruby Walsh would have ridden for Willie Mullins. She posted an unbelievable time figure on her last start at Fairyhouse. And Apple Shakira, the hips don't lie, they say. She's been favoured for some time. Not madding her at the prices. Salday for me.
Okay, very good. 2:10 is the county handicap. What are you thinking?
This is a very, very tough race. I'm going with Sandsend here for Willie Mullins, who also has a few others in the race, including Mary DeVee. Sandsend's form looks like he might have a bit in hand. He's inexperienced, but he definitely is open to improvement. Ruby's quite sweet on Mary DeVee on the work she's doing at home as well. Stable mate, but I definitely think the Irish have a massive chance in this. I feel that we should win this race. Yeah,
Willie, 4 wins in the last 8 years or something stupid like that. 10-3 then, the Albert Bartlett. What's the Johnny Ward tip here?
The tip is probably don't have a bet, to be honest. It's very tough. Chef de Zobo for Nicky Henderson will relish a slog. I'm not even sure it's going to be as much of a slog as it looked like it would be yesterday. If you wanted to have a horse at a big price today, Dortmund Park, who is trained by Gordon Elliott. He was a small bit disappointing last time, but he's a fine big horse, and he's going to be 20-25 to 1. I definitely don't think he's there making up the numbers.
Bit of each way action.
Yeah, I backed him his last 2 runs. He was disappointing the last time, but he did win the time before at around 14 to 1, and they think quite a lot of him.
So we've covered the Gold Cup, which is at 3:30. Arduke is your bit of a fancy there. 4:10, Johnny.
4:10 would be the Fox Hunter Chase, yeah. I think. I'm tipping Foxrock here, who would have been a Gold Cup horse not that long ago for Ted Walsh. He's now with different connections, Alan Fleming, and he's a horse that doesn't seem to like Cheltenham very much, but the ground is definitely in his favour today. I think on his class of old, he's a great chance here. Katie Walsh is having a superb week. She takes the ride. 8 to 1 is worth a small bet.
The last couple, the 10 to 5, have you anything for us?
The 10 to 5, I think is the Martin Pipe. I quite like Carter McKay here, actually. Carter McKay ran at Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival. He ran a very big race, and on his bumper form, he could be one of the best handicapped horses of the day, at least potentially. And just back Willie Mullins blind as well at Cheltenham at this stage. You know, you nearly always get a run for your money. Jamie Bargary rides him. Fine looking horse, and probably a bit more to come. The last race is a nightmare. David Pipe might score with Banata, who's had a wind operation, which is something that a lot of us would be thinking about after the week we've had.
Yeah, very good. Right, Johnny, continued success, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's been a good week. You know, the show keeps going on. Aidan O'Brien has a launch of the flat season in his yard on Wednesday, and the flat resumes on Sunday next week. The racing game is never ending, Adrian. Just never ending. And actually, just to mention as well, I was down in Moat there at a preview night last Saturday, and my host spoke very, very highly of your family and of you, but I did put him straight.
Johnny, thanks a million. I don't know who that is, and I'm not going to get any more information on it. Enjoy the what's left of the racing. Johnny Ward there live from the course at Cheltenham.